Welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jameson Rabbit. The man seated next to me, he is the man who will fight for your honor. His name is Mike Roth.
Yeah, up to a point.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, if I don't think I'm going to win, or I don't like that person, or I'm tired, or I got something else I got to do. But otherwise, all those other things, fight to the death.
You'll be the hero you've been dreaming of?
I'll be the hero that you're dreaming of, yes.
I like it. Very good. Mike has mastered the drum technique. This week we have several big movies to talk about on the marquee. We've got some of the big blockbusters of the season already this week, so we're going to get into it. But the first movie I have for you is the first movie on the marquee is a movie called Chuck, from director Felipe Faladin. Stars Liev Schreiber as Chuck Wepner. This is based on the true story of boxer Chuck Wepner, and he is best known to audiences as the man who inspired Sylvester Stallone to make Rocky. But this is basically his story. He was known as the Bayonne Bleeder, who was proud.
That's not a good name.
Right. Who was mostly proud of how many punches he could take to the face. Not much style in his fighting, but he could take a punch and he could bleed like crazy. And he's used. I mean, he works his way up the ranks. And after the Rumble in the Jungle, Muhammad Ali is the heavyweight champ once again, and he picks Chuck Wepner to be his next title fight, kind of playing off him being the great white hope. He's going to play it up as a black versus white thing, so we bring in Chuck Wepner, and he has no chance. No one gives him any chance against Muhammad Ali.
Well, with a nickname like the Bleeder.
He's a punching bag that bleeds. And he just wants to prove, basically, that he belongs, that he's not a bum. He wants people to believe in him. He doesn't necessarily believe in himself. He also has massive infidelity issues with his wife, Phyllis, played by Elizabeth Moss. And there's a lot of archival footage in this movie, going back to the original fights and such. You also have Naomi Watts as Linda, a bartender who he cheats on his wife with.
Oh.
Ron Perlman in here, almost unrecognizable. If it wasn't for that job of his, almost unrecognizable as his manager. Jim Gaffigan is in this as his kind of sleazy buddy. And Michael Rappaport plays his brother. And so he gets into the fight with Muhammad Ali, and this is famous. He knocked Muhammad Ali down in the 9th round. No one thought it could happen. Ultimately lost in the 15th, but he became famous for not going out right away, taking a lot of abuse from Muhammad Ali. And then Stallone made Rocky, and Wepner was very happy to tell everyone that's about me. And so where Muhammad Ali kind of made Chuck Wepner's legacy, Stallone really cemented it with Rocky. And he really, he sees himself in this, and he sees kind of a kindred spirit in Stallone, and all he wants, he starts, because of the success of Rocky, even though he doesn't really, it's never really credited to him, he doesn't get paid for it. Yeah. He's just kind of the legend that, it's
the inspiration.
Right.
Muse.
He's very happy to tell everyone, that's me. And now he wants to live the Hollywood lifestyle because of Rocky. And he has this thirst for being in the public spotlight now. So you see in the trailer, he's fighting a bear. At one point, where I learned who Chuck Wepner was when I was a kid, he fought Andre the Giant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, these are things he was doing. He became a circus act. Whatever it takes, as long as people know my name.
How did it work against...
Andre picked him up.
I bet.
And threw him to the ground.
I bet.
Yeah. And he tries to make it into Rocky 2, but he can't act, and so that doesn't work. And ultimately, the infidelity and the coke and the booze all took its toll on him. And his selfishness with everything really hurt everyone around him. Everyone was pushed away from him, and it's an interesting movie. Liev Schreiber was great in this movie, and he was doing narration over it all, and it kind of had that Goodfellas feel where Ray Liotta's kind of telling you the story as it's all happening. So he's narrating, and Liev Schreiber has a great voice to listen to, and he's getting you through. The movie itself kind of took a while to get its footing going. But once it got going, it was really interesting. Just following him, and he's not a good guy. Like,
no,
it's hard to root for this guy. It's more just sitting back and watching it, going, I can't. This is a weird life.
Yeah, can't relate.
Yeah, he's a real weird guy. The guy who played Muhammad Ali was really bad.
Okay.
Looked and sounded and acted nothing like Muhammad Ali. He was just kind of there. The guy who played Stallone was from a distance. Sounded like Stallone. If they would have kept the camera pulled back pretty far, you could have really believed it. As soon as they got tight, you're like, oh, that's not. But it was interesting. And the movie kept drawing parallels to the great classic Requiem for a Heavyweight, and how that character played out. And this movie kept paralleling it and showing that movie, clips of it as he went in through his life. So it was really interesting. And if, for a lot of people, that is who Chuck Wepner, that's all you know him as. Oh, the guy who they based Rocky on. Okay. And he's very happy to have that. He's very happy to be known. So ultimately, I gave Chuck 3.5 out of 5 stars.
Well,
pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So that's what I got. What do you have for us, sir?
This would be the big movie of the marquee right now, and that's Aliens Covenant. This is the sequel to Prometheus, or prequel to the movie Aliens, not Alien. What we have is we have a team of people who are going to go to the planet to settle, but colonize it, because that's pretty much what Aliens was a colonized planet that ended up getting destroyed. But anyhow, we're not talking about that movie right now. We're talking about this one. So they're on their way to go colonize a planet, and Lord and behold, they find a better planet pretty much on accident. The captain, after a devastating loss of the original captain, played by James Franco, even though he's uncredited, but everybody knows he's in this. He gets killed in this strange solar flare that ended up killing a couple of crew members, one of them the captain. And the new captain decides, we do not want to get back into these hibernation pods where we could end up getting killed again. Why don't we just check out this planet? It looks perfect. They go down there unprotected and just excited to settle already. Of course, with the protest of the ex-captain's wife saying, no, we got to go, blah, blah, blah. But anyhow, and of course, with every Aliens movie, expect aliens to start happening. They get attacked by some spores. Aliens come out of them in the natural way.
Grotesque alien births?
Very grotesque. That first one, this is not the full-fledged aliens that we're used to of the 80s and 90s.
What do they call these? Neomorphs.
Yeah, and they look a lot different than what we expect the actual aliens to be. They find out that this is how it ties into Prometheus, that David, he was the android from the Prometheus.
Played by Michael Fassbender.
Who plays actually a couple of roles. He plays Walter and he plays David, both androids of similar models. They find out that David takes the alien spaceship to this planet. He kills off the entire population with the stuff that they got from Prometheus. And he's been tinkering around with the alien species. I guess the DNA is really adaptable. And that's pretty much, I don't want to tell you anything more, but that's the gist of the movie. The nemesis being Michael Fassbender as David, and he's also the somewhat hero of Walter. Same guy. They really didn't have to do much. The only way you could tell the difference is one had messy hair and the other one didn't.
And the way they spoke.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because Walter had kind of almost a southern drawl to him a little bit.
Yeah, he was a lot more softer in his speech. Right. And where David, he was pretty much hyped up on artificial emotion. It was a lot more fast-paced than Prometheus.
Yeah.
I did like Prometheus. I'm one of the few people out there who did. This is a nice progression. The one thing I did not like is it kind of obliterates the timeline of what we... I don't know how the original Aliens mix in, and I'm pretty sure anything that was Aliens Predator that we saw back in the 80s with Donald Glover and Arnold Schwarzenegger, all that stuff cannot possibly exist. I'm not going to tell you why, but...
Well, I mean, Ridley Scott says that he has 5 more movies leading up butting up against the originals, so to fill this timeline gap.
Yeah.
He's got this whole thing planned out for this, a la James Cameron. I've got a ton of movies for you. Just wait for it.
I'm sure he's going to fill in the gaps, but it's going to be really difficult to explain how the modern or the future alien ended up in New York in the 80s.
I don't know.
I know that's a movie that they would like to forget, but it wasn't made.
There's a few alien movies I think they'd like to forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a bit I enjoyed about this movie. I agree with you. I enjoyed Prometheus. I rewatched it recently, and I enjoyed it more than I remembered enjoying it the first time.
Yeah.
And this movie, I thought, did a really good job of giving me both the feel of the original Alien movie and kind of letting me get to know this crew. And it, and tying in with Prometheus, I really enjoyed that more than I thought I would. Some of the things, though, that kind of bothered me was Billy Crudup, who came in as the replacement captain.
Yeah.
I think he's a great actor. And they introduced this theme of him of being a man of faith in this world of scientists and how this was a real dichotomy for him. And they never really paid that off. I was like, oh, this is an interesting thing, like, because he keeps mentioning, like, there's no room for my faith.
Yeah.
And then it never really plays out in the movie. Like, that's an interesting tell you have there.
Well, he really wasn't the main focus.
Right.
And
but he is the captain, the reluctant captain, and a captain who is not a unanimous choice.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was interesting, and then I thought that he just kind of got left by the wayside with that storyline, and I don't want to...
The one character that they did concentrate a lot on, which I love the movie, I really did, but Michael Fassbender as Walter and David, that relationship I thought was very slow, and I really didn't want to see that built up as much as they did. Yeah, you want to introduce it because they are the two main characters, the same guy as the two main characters, but the relationship was very humdrum. I've seen this kind of stuff in Android-type movies before, and they made it seem a little bit long and a little bit boring.
For me, I thought Fassbender played those roles to perfection. I thought he was really great in these roles. I was really intrigued by him.
That flute scene just took forever.
That's true. I'll give you that. And I liked the pace of it. I was actually really surprised. Danny McBride in this movie. I was surprised by how well he fell into the character of Tennessee.
Yep, I agree.
Because he is a name. Like when Franco shows up on screen, like there's James Franco.
Yeah.
And Danny McBride has a very special personality to him that
yes, he does.
Very much in your face. And I was kind of skeptical about how he would be able to blend into this cast. I thought he did a really decent job at that.
And even though other relationships, they weren't really strong, or they didn't show them very much, the relationships that they did have, even just in mentioning, like Danny McBride and the reasoning why he wanted to go down to the planet because of his wife, I was interested. Same thing with James Franco's character, even though he was only in videos. It was only a memorandum of him. He died before you could really have a movie.
Yep.
But still, I had a feeling of strong relationship between his wife, his widowed wife that he left behind.
And I thought she was decent, too. I thought she was decent. She was a pseudo Ripley in this universe. It feels like you always have to have a Ripley character. I thought she was decent, not great.
Yeah.
I thought her third act was kind of a little rough.
Well, they wanted to bump her up to something a little bit meatier, but she wasn't pulling it off.
I think she was doing it. And for me, one of the things this movie hammered home how mediocre Life was earlier this year. That tried to be this movie. Like, oh yeah, this one does it right.
Yeah.
When you give the cast something to do. So ultimately, what did you give Alien Covenant?
I gave it a 3.5. It was a good movie. It wasn't as great as I wanted it to be, but it's still a very good movie.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 as well. I went in with low expectations because Ridley Scott has kind of been on a bumpy ride lately.
Yeah.
And it feels like he's got a weird relationship with these Alien movies. I've not seen a director be this obsessed with something that he's done since George Lucas.
Well, this is his big thing, and it's always been
Ridley Scott has got a few big things.
True, but
I
think of him more as the Aliens guy than like the Blade Runner guy or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's been in his career forever, and
he just keeps coming back.
I really enjoy these movies. I like how every single movie feels like they're trying a little something different, and each one is special.
My big knock on this, though, is that because it did mirror Alien so much, that I was reminded how much more I liked Alien than this.
Aliens.
The characters were more fleshed out in both of the first two Alien movies than in this movie.
Well, Aliens, I saw more humor for some reason. And
I love both
mostly
those movies.
because of the Marines that they had in it. They were awesome.
So good. All right, let's move on, sir. The next movie we have on the marquee is a movie called Everything, Everything from director Stella McGee. Stars Amanda Stenberg. You know her as Rue from the first Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Little Rue, all grown up.
She is.
She is a girl named Maddie, and Maddie has been spent her entire life confined inside of her hermetically sealed house because she has an immunity disorder called SCID, where she's basically allergic to everything. Her mom is a doctor, and she has been going through great pains to ensure that she cannot get sick at all. No one's allowed to touch her. She only has a couple of people that she even deals with in contact. Maddie doesn't really let this stop her from living, but her life is missing excitement, and it's pretty much just staring at things through the internet. Of course, a new boy moves in next door. Ali, played by Nick Robinson, moves in next door, and they start texting through her isolation and kind of getting to know each other. And quickly, she dreams of being in the same room with Ali. And there's some interesting exchanges where she kind of inhabits her dreams. She dreams of being an architect, and it's kind of interesting to use her architecture in her dreams in this, which was kind of interesting how they do that. And ultimately, there's a chance for her to get in the same room as Ali. What's that going to do? Is it going to kill her? If she steps outside, she's going to die instantly. But like any good teenager, she's sneaking around. She's lying to her mom. And it's no easy feat to sneak around when you're locked inside a house.
Yeah, you could lock up the teenager, but you can't lock up those hormones.
Right.
They need to frolic.
And, she's risking her life by trying to be with Ali.
Yeah.
But he frees her soul for her and allows her to dream, gives her excitement. And there's this kind of really great teenage awkwardness between the two of them. They get to know each other, and then the first time they really see each other, I mean, you see here in the trailer that they're going to be in the same space as each other. Big surprise. And her mom it's interesting for me. I'm watching it, and they kind of try and play it off as her mom being overbearing. But you find out that she had lost her husband and her son when Maddie was a very young age, and that all she wants is to protect her daughter. And her daughter is risking her life, and all she wants as a good parent is, I don't want to lose the only family member I have left.
Yeah.
So if you have this disease, I need to keep you safe. And I'm not going to let you having puppy love with the boy next door kill you because of this.
Understandable.
And it's, from a parent's perspective, I'm like, yeah, she's not the bad guy. There's a couple twists in this movie that, for me, felt really telegraphed.
Okay.
I wish they would have been less telegraphed for me.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought it was interesting, and I liked Amanda Stenberg. I thought she was pretty good. I haven't seen her since Hunger Games.
I think it was a mixture for me with her acting. She had some really great roles. I think she has a good personality. But there was a lot of times in the movie where I felt like certain scenes, every actor had to just read their lines for the first time or something like that. And every performance, or a lot of performances felt really wooden or hollow, especially by Maddie's mother.
Anna Kanoni Rose, yeah.
Thank you very much. Who I really didn't think did her character much justice.
Yep.
And like you said, with the twists, I saw them from a mile away. Actually, I saw them from a mile away at the previews.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And so I was never really shocked or excited, and there was a lot of times...
Because it's supposed to be a big, moment.
Yeah, but...
You're just like, it's got to be coming.
There's only two ways this could end, and the feel of the movie, how it was presented, you knew it wasn't going to be the depressing ending. So at least that's what I thought throughout the movie.
Yeah, I was surprised by how how much. I mean, I really had no thoughts going into this movie. So I was surprised that I actually enjoyed it more than I anticipated.
Oh, that's good.
And I liked the dynamic between Maddie and Ollie. I thought it was really sweet, really cute.
It was sweet, and I think a lot of that is to Amanda. Amanda's personality.
Yeah.
I think she was a great character.
She's a bubbly teenager.
She was a bubbly teenager, and she did it really well. The rest of the acting, I wasn't really too happy with. Yeah. And the dialogue felt kind of forced. A lot of these situations that just, okay, we're going to have real deep things, so how about we have a word that you guys could use, that everybody could learn this new word, and it's going to be great because everybody's going to get really deep and stuff. And I just felt like that kind of stuff was corny, and I really didn't want to see cornball. But
fair enough. What did you end up giving everything?
I gave it a mediocre 2.5. I think there was some good things, but the fact that I saw the whole movie coming already and the weird dialogue and sometimes bad acting kind of turned me off.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of right there with you. I bumped it up a little bit. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It was enjoyable. Nothing special, but a good, sweet movie. Yeah. For the most part.
It's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with sweet.
Speaking of sweet movies, let's move on, sir. What's the last movie we have on the marquee this week? It's a hot movie, hot off the presses, sir.
This would not be sweet. It's Baywatch.
Oh,
This is the remake or the movie adaptation of the 80s, 90s hit television show Baywatch with the Hasselhoff. Dwayne Johnson, he plays Mitch. He is the lifeguard that's kind of in charge. He's the lieutenant of all these lifeguards.
He's a superhero.
He is pretty much a superhero. If you know Dwayne Johnson, you know he cannot, not be a superhero. Yeah. Large guy. He could pretty much do everything. He has these tryouts for new lifeguards. Well, we have Zac Efron, who plays Matt Brody. He is the cocky guy who used to be in the Olympics, won 2 gold medals, but threw up in the pool while doing laps, ruined it for everybody. They didn't win that medal. So to fulfill a probation obligation, he tries out for this. It's an in job for him. And Dwayne wants to kind of get him as a team member and not as a solo player. We also have a couple other new people on there. Victoria Leeds, who comes in with a typical Baywatch girl, very pretty. And then we have the guy who's not that pretty, Ronnie Greenbaum, played by John Bass, who I don't know. There's like hundreds of people trying out for this job, and he gets in not really because of what they do, but because he has spunk and he shows up to the beach a lot. Whatever, didn't really make sense, but you needed something like that in there. This is just pretty much one gag after another.
Sometimes the same gag. Over and over.
The same gag over and over. This movie wants to be a great comedy, but it's missing a lot of things. A lot of the characters, they really needed a straight man somewhere in this, someone who is committed to just being an anchor for all the comedy that they wanted to do, but everybody kind of flip-flopped on, am I going to be a wacky, really dumb character? And then every once in a while I have lines that go, no, I'm the anchor. And all these jokes were done before, and they're very sloppy. And I'd hate to do it, because I really like Dwayne Johnson. I think he's a great comedic actor. I love his action, but...
Yeah.
In this one, I was very disappointed.
My issue with this movie is many, but one of them is most of it falls on the giant shoulders of Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
And that is, it felt like he was trying to play it too serious. Like, none of the jokes were at his expense.
No. It
felt like he still wanted to be the big superhero. And so everyone's being over the top raunchy, but none are at his expense. It felt like he wanted to play his part like, but I'm the real deal.
Yeah.
And you needed him to accept that this was a big dumb. They wanted to go for 21 Jump Street.
Yeah.
Is what they wanted. And 21 Jump Street, I thought, did a great job of being self-deprecating and knowing who they're making fun of. This movie, the writers had no idea where they're going with it, and it felt like a really bad episode of the show.
Well, there was one joke that was on Dwayne Johnson, but they didn't play it up enough, and the whole thing is really obvious. Lifeguards don't solve crimes,
right?
And Mitch, he mentioned this a lot. And at the beginning, I was like, well, maybe he's going to be the anchor that's going to make this like the Brady Bunch movie, where you realize this group, even though they believe all their shtick, everybody else looks at it like, you are crazy, you are a lifeguard, stop getting involved in police business. But that was pretty much done in the first third of the movie, and Zac Efron's character got on board and let's be stupid together.
Yeah, the writing was so poor.
And they tried a lot of this uncreative blue humor, which I have no problem with.
It felt like it was just raunch and obscenities for the sake of it.
Yeah.
But they didn't know what they were doing. It was like they were placing it in the wrong spots.
No,
and
it wasn't clever or creative at all. It was just like, really?
The only thing I liked, there was a nursery fight, which I thought was decent. A fight in a nursery.
That one I thought
like,
was...
Okay, this is something. There's this... First off, Ronnie's character, it felt like that Ronnie character was written for Josh Gad, and they couldn't get him.
Yeah.
So it felt like, oh, this is definitely written for him.
And there was a scene where he was at a party where he was supposed to be a distraction, and they built it up a lot. Yeah. Like, oh, you're going to do this thing at the party. You're going to do it. You got to do it for the team. You got to be the distraction. And then when he did it, I was like, he really didn't have anything
His
going
whole
on.
thing was that he was the everyman who was in love with CJ.
Yeah.
And, that was the whole thrust of his character. And the rest of the movie was basically totally reliant on good-looking people doing things. Yeah. And that ran short really quick.
Yeah. The female team, really, they didn't have much to do. It was all Dwayne Johnson and Zac Efron. And Zac Efron, in every comedy I see him, he's not funny. He actually wrote one of my favorite gags in this, and that was he never was called Matt Brody by Dwayne Johnson. He was always called like One Direction or NSYNC or Justin Bieber and stuff like that. I thought that was funny. And then when I found out that Zac Efron wrote that, I was like, oh, well, he did serve a purpose. But otherwise, as a comedic role, he needs to stay away from those things.
The only thing I liked about this movie, really, was that Dwayne's character of Mitch Buchanan exists in a universe where Hasselhoff's character of Mitch Buchanan also exists. And I want to believe that it's like Princess Bride, where when you take over the keys to Baywatch, you must become Mitch Buchanan. Like, so your name is now Mitch Buchanan. Yeah. Because that's who runs Baywatch. I kind of enjoyed that. But outside of that, I thought this movie stunk.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting a ton, but I thought this movie really stunk. It was not funny. It was just dumb. And this is, for me, this is back-to-back movies of The Rock's this year that I thought were pretty bad. And they both get the same score of 1.5 stars for me.
Yeah. Well, guess what? I agree with you. 1.5 stars. That's it.
No, thank you. Pass on Baywatch. That's what we're saying. Before we run out, let's take a quick look back to the year of 1997, Mike, since we were talking about Alien Covenant this week. 1997, a movie came out directed by Paul W.S. Anderson about a spaceship.
Oh, he has all those great movies, Aliens vs. Predator.
This is the only movie of his that I like. I'm putting that on record. The only movie of Paul W.S. Anderson's I like.
Death Race?
A spaceship, nope. A spaceship goes off, disappears on a long-lost voyage for 7 years, and then the Event Horizon returns. Where has it been? The cast of the Lewis and Clark must go out to find out where has the Event Horizon been, what has it seen, what's going on, and it brings back some special surprises with it.
Yeah. Hell.
Guess what? We've been to hell. Great cast: Sam Neill, Lawrence Fishburne, tons of great people.
I love Sam Neill. I really do.
Sam Neill is great. A really, really fun horror sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw this, I was blown away. I did not know what was coming.
I got scared.
Some great visuals. Well, you see right here, some really interesting visuals that come with this.
Yeah.
And a slow build. And didn't just throw it all in right away.
And it's freaky. It really does a great job at creating tension, and you don't know what's really going to happen next.
It's good.
It
was fun on the rewatch. I was really happy that to rewatch this because it's been a while. Very enjoyable. So, Event Horizon.
Definitely have to check it out.
Check it out. All right, let's take a look ahead really quick. What is coming out the weekend of June 2nd? We have 2 movies coming out that weekend. The first will be Captain Underpants, based on the children's series. The second movie we'll have is the big DC movie, Wonder Woman. That's all coming June 2nd. Before we leave you, though, we have to thank our sponsor, Marcus Theaters, The Palace here in Sun Prairie. Thank you for sponsoring the show. We appreciate that. If you want to find more from us, you can always find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on ksun.tv. Real Reviews TV is where you find us on all of those other platforms. We also want to give a big shout out to the girl manning the ones and twos for us, Shyla. This is her last show producing this. We're going to miss you, Shyla. Thanks for all the great work you've done.
Unless we kidnap you and make you work here during the summer.
We always appreciate it. You've done a great job. So next week we're going to be talking about Pirates of the Caribbean 5. But until that time, my name's Jameson.
I'm Mike Roth.
Thanks for watching.